Good morning to you. I am Mark Stott of HurricaneTrack here. It is now Tuesday, the 21st day of January, 2025, and it is going to be an interesting day for sure, a day to be remembered for the Gulf Coast states. And then especially, I think, later on, I think the Carolinas are in for a surprise snowfall event that's going to catch a lot of people off guard. I can't be 100% sure about that. Nothing in weather is 100% until it happens. But the signs are there. I'm going to show you some of the things that I am looking at to where I think we're going to get up tomorrow in eastern North Carolina and we're going to be like, whoa, this is a lot more than I was expecting. I think that's going to be the sentiment for a lot of people. Let me explain. So first of all, the bigger picture, look at this. Look at what's happening. Very cold air here east of and including the Rockies. Winter storm warnings all along the Gulf Coast up through eastern North Carolina, with a very rare, as in unprecedented, you don't get to use that word often and it really means something in life, really, like it's overused. In this case, it is absolutely pertinent. Blizzard warning in effect for southwest Louisiana. I was down here with my colleagues in 2020 for several hurricanes, and now they are under a blizzard warning in parts of extreme southeast Texas here into southwest Louisiana. Wow. And the reason that we have the blizzard warning, I want to make this very clear. It has nothing to do with the amount of snow that's falling. You could have 45 inches of snow and there not be a blizzard warning. You know, it is all about the wind and the visibility and the duration, usually about 3 hours of, I think it's like 35 mile per hour wind or something like that, and visibility is reduced below a quarter mile. It has nothing to do. You can have 2 inches of snow, and if it's blowing like crazy for that 3 hours, you get yourself a blizzard. And therefore, the blizzard warning's in effect for southwest Louisiana. Gotten some videos. I've been posting those up on my Twitter from our friend down there, Kimberly, who we met because of those hurricanes back in 2020. We know a lot of people down there, and this is very, very unusual to be sure. So let's go back out to the bigger picture again, just kind of setting the stage here for what I'm expecting for eastern North Carolina, because if it overperforms down here, I think that's going to play into it overperforming up in our area and even points east of the Gulf Coast states. So blizzard warning here, we got the winter storm warnings in Texas, and then the very cold air that has drained down, and after this storm moves on out, it's not that Miller A type that's going to come up the coast, by the way. This is just not even an area of low pressure. It's more like a long surface trough with ripples of energy along it. And then eventually the low pressure will form out here, and it's going to actually head out, believe it or not, towards the United Kingdom as a very powerful storm. Not up the East Coast like a lot of these systems do during the wintertime. We call those the Miller A storms. That's not what is happening this time around. Nevertheless, once the storm exits, very cold air will settle in, and it is going to make for some miserable, I won't say unprecedented in this case, because yes, it has been colder, but not nearly what we're used to. And it's been a few years since it has been this cold. So looking at the tidbit site here, the satellite animation, just to kind of show you that storm. Again, there's no bona fide area of low pressure. You don't have like that typical low sitting in the Gulf that's going to slide east and then up the coast. This is different. It's just this wave, almost like a little frontal boundary here, a baroclinic zone of all this very cold air butting up against the warm, unstable air, moisture-laden air of the Gulf of Mexico, and that has led to this like boundary that is overrunning the very cold air at the surface. Let me just give you a quick example. Down at the surface, we've got all this cold air that has come in, and it is several thousand feet thick. And then in the mid and upper levels, moisture is getting pushed up and over that cold air, and the precip falls through, and as long as it stays cold enough through the column, that precip is mostly snow. But where the precip falls as liquid first through the cold air mass below freezing, you get sleet. So you're hoping for all snow. All snow is much better overall. It's easier to deal with, it melts quicker, and it's just more fun, to be honest with you. But this isn't our typical big-time winter storm setup where the East Coast ends up with a major bomb cyclone off of New England or something like that. It's kind of an unusual, what we call overrunning event along this what we call baroclinic zone, stretched across the northern Gulf of Mexico, the southern Gulf states. All right, so I want to focus on eastern North Carolina because, after all, that is what the graphic is, denoting here. Carolina surprise ? I think we could be in for it. So these are a couple of resources for you. I probably should have added Raleigh as well, and elsewhere, Columbia, South Carolina. But, on social media, you can just search for your local weather service office. You can go to that weather.gov, and you can click on various areas like Central South Carolina, for example. You can go in here and click on Columbia, which right now they're under a winter weather advisory. But that could change, and I will show you why I think that could possibly change as we go through. But these are some great resources here, your local National Weather Service products. You just click on the map, or you can put in your zip code up here, or your town name, whatever, and you can find what you're looking for. So National Weather Service Wilmington, National Weather Service Morehead City, and this is the one that really stands out to me. Their snowfall forecasts have been going up and up and up. And I can prove that to you. Let's go back in time. That's the beauty of social media, as long as people don't delete stuff, right? And they don't, so that's good. They have accountability here. So this is just yesterday, way back yesterday, right? And the snow totals for yesterday, everywhere in eastern North Carolina, less than an inch, but locally higher amounts possible in this little red oval. And look what happened just within 24 hours. Now we are looking at 4 to 6 inches, 6 inches in Rodanthe, 6 to 8 way out in eastern North Carolina, the extreme eastern part, like the western end of the Pamlico Sound, Albemarle Sound. What happened? How could that be? Within 24 hours, we go from less than an inch, right, to now greater than potentially 6 inches. Remember your less than and greater than from school? You should. When am I ever going to use math? Well, here you go. This is where it's important. So what has happened? What has changed? Well, I rely on different people. I am mostly the hurricane guy. I mean, that's why we're called HurricaneTrack. And I know a lot about hurricanes. And I know a little about pretty much everything else related to weather. That's why I rely on other people that know even a lot more than me about other things related to weather. I might know more than them about hurricanes. They certainly know more than me about severe weather or winter weather or things like that. You understand? Colleagues in the business. And one of those is Eric Webb. And he used to live in North Carolina. He went to school at NC State and did some schooling, I believe, at UNC Charlotte. He is a meteorologist, and he's really good. And he picked this out several days ago. All right, so this is back on January 17th, his post. Next week's potential winter storm in the southeast U.S. reminds me a lot of January 28, 29, 2014. Overall pattern is generally close, and the depiction of the storm in the model at this time frame is quite similar to TOO, that area. Spoiler alert, that storm in 2014 trended north and west down to the 0 hour. And then he talks about the warm nose that gave us sleet and whatever. I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue with this one. It is this part right here, I want to make sure I highlight it in yellow, that the biggest part in 2014, the storm trended north and west, right? And that is very important because that is what we're starting to see this last 24 hours as we're bringing the clock down to 0, where it starts precipitating in your area. And we saw that happening first in Texas. The moisture started coming in first earlier, several hours earlier, and hours make a difference this time around. And they are getting more than was expected. Nobody was thinking there would be blizzard warnings for southwest Louisiana and the extreme southeastern part of Texas. So let's keep going. Let's go back and see what all has transpired since then. So let's see. I saw this yesterday. So right here, 11 hours ago, he said, on brand for an overrunning event. That's what this is called, where, again, the moisture is stretched out over a large area and is coming up and over the cold air, that baroclinic zone. None of the models, Eric said yesterday, are fully capturing the precipitation already occurring upstream over Texas and parts of the Gulf Coast. Note that the NAM, that's the North American model, is usually the closest to reality in these situations, and even then it tends to underestimate the true extent of the WAA, that is warm air advection. That's air that's moving sideways or horizontal You have cold air and warm air. It moves laterally. Convection is when it moves vertically. And precipitation, while the the high resolution model tends to be awful, so we'll kind of ignore that for the most part. So what happens is, we've seen it time and time again, these storms tend to start drifting in the modeling more and more north and west. And I can show that to you. Like, proof is in the pudding. Look at this. This is the GFS. I'm going to back out get me off the screen for a second. And this is the run of the GFS on the 19th. So, basically 2 days ago, just 48 hours out, valid this coming night, early morning, whatever. So 1 a.m., 2 a.m. this coming morning, Wednesday morning. And this is what it was showing. I was looking at this and thinking, oh man, because I'm right here, southeast North Carolina, and look at even elsewhere, Carolinas and Georgia. I was looking at this thinking, daggone, we're going to get screwed out of this. It's called suppression, where the cold air comes in first and kind of squashes everything flatter, and it just gets suppressed. And I thought, oh, that's a real bummer, because I like the snow. The kids like the snow. It's fun. Maybe not everybody loves it. That's fine. But I was disappointed. I thought, oh man, come on. But watch what has happened since then. So that's 72 hours into the future from the 19th. Now watch what happens. Let's go forward in time. The next run of the model, hey, we got a little bit of ground gained. In fact, let's do this. I'll use my telestrator. Let's just put a line right through here. That's where the snow looked like it was going to be occurring, right? So watch what's been happening. Run after run as we get closer and closer to now. Look how it's been trending north and west. You cannot get any more textbook than that, to Eric's point. So we go backwards, and then we go forward, and look at that. And I don't think it's over yet, and neither does Eric. And it's from what I have learned from folks like Eric here. So he keeps on talking about it more. He and other folks have been doing their own forecast maps. I think that's fine. That's great. Other voices out there of people that are trained in this, I think, is important. So that's good. And this is what he was talking about. But even this, he thinks he's going to update that forecast from yesterday evening once he sees the 12Z high resolution guidance. Likely there will be some upward, meaning higher snow totals, and westward adjustments to the snow totals across the board. Now, this is interesting too. This is where people need to really pay attention to this outside of the coastal plain of North Carolina, which of course is over here. Our interior areas are going to have to watch this, maybe even as far back to the west as Charlotte. And why do I say that? Let's read what Eric was saying. And again, he knows the stuff. He lived in the Carolinas. He knows, all right? He doesn't know everything, but he knows a lot. So, speaking of knowing, Eric says, knowing how these overrunning events tend to start early and seeing the dendritic growth zone, that's the part of the atmosphere where the dendrites or the little snow crystals form, that zone is already saturated along the I-85 corridor southwest of Charlotte, definitely raises some concerns from me about the evening commute today across the Carolinas. Given the cold ground, and it was cold last night, low 20s down here, probably even lower than that, maybe upper teens inland, and the road temperatures, as soon as light snow starts to fall, it will stick even to road surfaces, and this is huge right here. Also, given that a lot of folks heard it wasn't going to snow yesterday, this could be problematic. So our area's interior, maybe Charlotte up through what we call the Piedmont Crescent, towards Greensboro, down into the Triangle, and then certainly areas of east of I-95. I mean, that's a lock, but it's those areas west of the I-95 corridor through here. This could get really interesting tonight. So just keep that in mind. We could end up seeing, if this continues, I mean, look at what we've done in the modeling here just in the last 2 days and how it has backed and backed and backed. And now the westward extent of the snow line here, definitely there's Charlotte, Mecklenburg right in there. We're getting close. We're knocking on that door. All right? So eastern North Carolina, I think your snow totals are going to be higher than we are anticipating. And we're going to wake up tomorrow and go, wow. Wow. And by the way, what is this purple? This is some of that sleet and that makes sense down at the coast. That warm mid-level air starts to come in, and the snow melts on its way down, becomes liquid, falls into the shallow freezing cold, and it will be in the low 20s, and you get these little balls of sleet. Very annoying. Hopefully that won't happen. It'll be mostly snow, because that's what I like the most, right? The little kid inside of, mid-50s Mark here. So yeah, maybe a Carolina surprise coming up, and we can see that based on what is happening to the south and west. Everything is overperforming there, energetic-wise, all the energy in the atmosphere, the blizzard warning, all of those are clues. Don't be surprised if we wake up tomorrow, even though it says Carolina surprise, we could have a lot more snow on our hands than we were originally thinking. All right? We shall see. We'll know in 24 hours. All right, that is it from me. I am Mark Sudduth. Thank you for watching. Good luck. Enjoy the snow, and I'll talk to you again another time.